Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. For the people who are here for the first time, my name is Ghazia Bushra and I talk about books. Today I'm going to talk about the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E Frankl. Written back in 1946, Man's Search for Meaning is considered one of the most inspirational books ever written. The author of the book, Viktor E Frankl, who was originally a psychiatrist, has penned down his experiences living in the concentration camp, the killing camp or extermination camp, if you will, of Nazi Germany in World War II. So this is a book about war, the horrors of war, the barbarity, the atrocities faced by human beings because of human beings. Now you would think that this book should be dark and depressing, but turns out it's not. This book is about hope and life and meaning that the life has to offer to us. The author is a survivor of a Holocaust. He has lived through the worst possible conditions any human being can face. The war, the concentration camp, where there is no food, no shelter, no protection against the extreme weather conditions. Still, you have to do labor for 24 hours with only one piece of bread to complete your energy requirement. Where death is constantly hanging over your head. If you're not standing straight in a queue, you're dead. If you said something that has sound unpleasant to the person in charge, you're dead. If you're old, you are dead. If you've got fever because condition there is extremely unsanitary, you're dead. And if you're just Jewish, you're dead. And the worst condition of all is that you don't know if your family members or your loved ones are alive or not. And even if they are alive, in what condition they are in. We living in our privileged homes and privileged societies would think that how can anyone survive in these conditions, and life cannot get worse than that. But Viktor E Frankl doesn't think like that. He believes that suffering is a constant part of our life. If there's life, there's suffering. And if you know that the suffering and the problems that you're facing and tolerating has a meaning behind it, then it becomes easier to tolerate. Because he was a psychiatrist, he was able to observe human behavior differently from other people. He realized that there were thousands of people in that concentration camp, and each of them were subjected to the same treatment of tyranny. But every one of them responded in a different way. He observed that his fellows who believed that their families were waiting for them after the war is over had little difficulty in facing the problems that everyone has to face. That was, however, not true for every one of them. Throughout the book, the author is advocating Friedrich Nietzsche's quote, "He who has a why to live by can bear almost anyhow." He has quoted many examples from his experience in the concentration camp where people were able to tolerate the pain because they had believed that their suffering was affecting someone in a positive way. He collected all of the observations that he had taken in the concentration camp, and after the war was over, he formulated a theory known as logotherapy that helps people figure out the meaning of their lives, because not everybody has the same meaning in their life. Not everybody is highly attached to their families. Not everybody has a huge purpose in their life that they have to fulfill. So the meaning is specific to that person, and logotherapy, which is kind of a psychotherapy, helps them figure that meaning out. The last part of the book, he has talked about his study and the logotherapy and the effects it had on his patients that he had treated after the war was over. I personally believe that if all of this is coming from someone who is the survivor of war, who has gone through all of these phases, if someone like him is saying these things, then it must mean something. Said, and I agree, that nobody in this entire world can tell you what happens during the war, because someone who is not a part of it, who is watching it from the outside, doesn't really know what is actually happening inside. And someone who is the bearer of the suffering will always be biased towards the atrocities and the tyranny that they are facing. So we cannot really know what war is really constituted of. However, we can take inspiration from these books, and we can understand that how hard life may be and how hard the situation may be. You can always choose to be kind. You can always choose to be generous and lovable to people around you. I mean, if someone can share this small piece of bread with their fellows when they know that they're not going to get food for the next 24 hours, I mean, why can't we? So this is a very raw and subtle experience that he has shared. It's not like other books about war that you would have read. It doesn't matter what age group you belong from, please read this book. It has sold like 20 million copies worldwide up till now, and there is a very high chance that you would have read it. But if you haven't, please read it and have an idea that how hard your life may be, you are the one who is going to make the life choices. You are the one who is going to make life out of your life. Well, there's nothing more that I have to say about this book. So in the end, I will just share one paragraph from it and I will leave you to it. There were always choices to make. Every day, every hour offered the opportunity to make a decision which determined whether you would or would not submit to those powers which threatened to rob you of yourself, your inner freedom, which determined whether or not you would become the plaything of circumstances, renouncing freedom and dignity to become molded into the form of the typical inmate.